heavy steel, slow to move, but feared like no other. When it first appeared on the Eastern Front in 1942, Soviet crews panicked. Their shells bounced harmlessly off its thick armor. Its 88-millimeter gun could destroy any Allied tank long before they got close. Crews spoke of it as invincible, almost alive. But the Tiger had flaws. It broke down often and consumed fuel like a monster. Still, when one appeared on the battlefield, everything stopped. The Tiger had arrived. The story of the Tiger begins not on a battlefield, but in the mind of Adolf Hitler himself. In 1941, as German tanks pushed deep into Soviet territory, they encountered something unexpected. The Soviet T-34 and KV-1 tanks proved superior to anything Germany had. Panzer III and IV crews found themselves outgunned and outmatched. Hitler demanded an answer. German engineers responded with the Panzerkampfwagen 6. The Tiger won. Development happened at breakneck speed. Two companies competed for the contract. Porsche and Henschel both built prototypes. On Hitler's birthday in April 1942, both designs were demonstrated before the Führer himself. The Henschel version won. It was more conventional, more reliable, easier to produce. By August 1942, the first Tigers rolled off the production line in Kassel. Everything about the Tiger was excessive. It weighed 54 tons. Compare that to the American Sherman at 30 tons or the Soviet T-34 at 26. Its frontal armor measured 100 millimeters thick. At certain angles, it was effectively impenetrable to most Allied weapons. The sides were 80 millimeters. Even from the side, it could shrug off hits that would destroy other tanks. But the true weapon was the gun. The famous 88-millimeter KBK-36. This wasn't just any cannon. It was adapted from Germany's legendary Flak 38 anti-aircraft gun. That gun had already proven itself capable of destroying tanks when used in ground combat in North Africa and Russia. Now it was mounted in a turret with proper optics and ammunition storage. The results were devastating. The Tiger could engage enemy tanks at ranges of 2,000 meters or more. Most Allied tanks had to close to within 500 meters to have any chance of penetrating Tiger armor. This meant the Tiger could destroy 4 or 5 enemy tanks before they even got into effective range. For Allied crews, facing a Tiger was a death sentence. The first Tigers saw combat in September 1942 near Leningrad. The debut was disastrous. 4 Tigers were sent into swampy terrain against Soviet positions. The ground was soft. The Tigers were heavy. 3 got stuck in the mud. 1 was captured intact by the Soviets. German commanders were furious. The Tiger had been revealed to the enemy without achieving anything. Soviet engineers now had a complete Tiger to study. But the Germans learned from this mistake. When Tigers next appeared, they were used correctly. In Tunisia, in 1943, Tiger commander Otto Carius encountered a column of Soviet T-34s that had been sent to help defend Tunisia. From a concealed position, his Tiger destroyed them one by one. The Soviets never saw what hit them. This became the Tiger's standard tactic. Ambush, long-range engagement, withdraw before the enemy could respond. The Tiger battalions were elite units. Crews were hand-picked. Training was extensive. Each battalion had only 45 Tigers, but they were treated as strategic assets. They were rushed from crisis point to crisis point across the front. Wherever the situation was desperate, Tigers appeared. They became firefighters, plugging gaps in the German line with firepower and armor. On the Eastern Front, the Tiger became legend. Soviet tankers developed what Germans called Tiger phobia. Any large German tank was reported as a Tiger. Panzer IVs were mistaken for Tigers. Even captured Soviet tanks used by Germans were called Tigers. The psychological impact was immense. Soviet crews would sometimes abandon perfectly good tanks and flee when they heard a Tiger was nearby. One of the most famous Tiger aces was Michael Wittmann. In June 1944, during the Battle of Normandy, Wittmann's Tiger encountered a British armored column near Villers-Bocage. What happened next became legendary. In 15 minutes, Wittmann destroyed approximately 14 tanks, 15 personnel carriers, and 2 anti-tank guns. Single-handedly, he stopped an entire British advance. His Tiger prowled through the town like a predator, appearing from side streets, firing, then disappearing before the British could respond. But for all its strengths, the Tiger had critical weaknesses. The first was mechanical reliability. The Tiger was over-engineered. Its transmission was complex and fragile. The overlapping road wheel design, while providing a smooth ride, collected mud and froze solid in Russian winters. Crews had to light fires under the tank to thaw it out. Engine failures were common. Final drives broke constantly. Fuel consumption was catastrophic. The Tiger drank nearly 500 liters per 100 kilometers on roads. Off-road, consumption doubled. In 1944 and 1945, as German fuel supplies collapsed, many Tigers were abandoned, simply because there was no fuel to move them. More Tigers were lost to mechanical breakdown and fuel shortages than to enemy action. Production was also a problem. Germany built only 1,347 Tiger Is between 1942 and 1944. Compare this to over 50,000 American Shermans or over 60,000 Soviet T-34s. The Tiger was expensive. It took twice as long to build as a Panzer IV. Each Tiger required 300,000 man-hours to construct. Germany simply couldn't produce them in the numbers needed. Strategic mobility was another flaw. The Tiger was too heavy for most bridges. It was too wide for rail transport without removing the outer road wheels. Moving Tigers long distances was a logistical nightmare. They had to be partially disassembled, loaded onto special rail cars, transported, then reassembled at the destination. By the time a Tiger battalion relocated, the crisis had often moved elsewhere. Yet, despite these flaws, the Tiger's combat record is undeniable. A single Tiger was worth 5 or 6 regular tanks in combat effectiveness. Tiger battalions routinely achieved kill ratios of 10-to-1 or better. At the Battle of Kursk in July 1943, Tigers formed the tip of German armored spearheads. They destroyed hundreds of Soviet tanks, though the battle itself was a German defeat. The Allies developed tactics to counter the Tiger. American and British crews learned to attack in groups. While one tank distracted the Tiger from the front, others would maneuver to attack the thinner side and rear armor. Soviet crews used massed attacks, accepting heavy losses to overwhelm Tigers with numbers. Specialized tank destroyers were developed specifically to kill Tigers. By late 1944, the Tiger's supremacy was ending. The Soviet IS-2 heavy tank mounted a 122mm gun that could penetrate Tiger armor. The American M26 Pershing had a 90mm gun that was effective against Tigers at closer ranges. British 17-pounder guns, mounted on Firefly Shermans, could penetrate Tiger armor from the front at combat ranges. The last Tigers fought desperately in the defense of Germany in 1945. With no fuel, no spare parts, and no trained crews, they became static pillboxes. Many were simply blown up by their own crews to prevent capture. The Tiger that had once seemed invincible ended its days as a immobile fortress, waiting for the inevitable. But the legend lived on. Even today, the Tiger tank remains one of the most recognized and feared weapons of World War II. Its combination of firepower, armor, and psychological impact was unique. Yes, it was flawed. Yes, it came too late and in too few numbers to change the war's outcome. But when a Tiger appeared on the battlefield, even knowing its weaknesses, Allied tankers felt their blood run cold. The beast had arrived.